Hearing none, I'll declare that if there's no objection, the minutes will be approved as printed. Hearing no objection, the minutes are accepted. We now move to my voluminous chairman's report, comments, announcements, and I really don't have much. I first want to comment that I have not heard anything more about Don Lunder. I forwarded to all of you the email that his daughter sent some days ago. I responded to that and asked her to please keep us informed as best the family could about his status. She had raised in her email the issue of Don's ability to continue as a trustee and said he probably would need to be considered resigned or removed after today's meeting. But in my response to her, I said that we would need to hear from the family again before we took any action. And I've talked to Katie about that. So as far as I'm concerned, Don is still a member of the board, but it looks likely, based on his daughter's email, that he will have to drop off the board. And then at that time, Katie and I will talk. She'll inform the county. And I plan to, pending my discussion with Katie, I plan to provide a little bit of input to the chairman of the Board of Supervisors and Lee Frame, who was responsible for getting Don appointed as our member at large, about some of the criteria I would like them to consider in replacing him. And I really don't want to get into that now, because that might lead you all to believe further that I know it's a done deal. Don is not going to be with us anymore, but I want to hold out the possibility that he rallies and maybe actually is able to continue to be part of our group. Today, I went to the Orange Library, known affectionately as Maine, and I presented Katie with the holiday gifts, which are also gifts of appreciation for her work this year. And I want to read to you the inscription that I put in the card that I gave her. Dear Katie, these gifts are but a small token of appreciation from the trustees for the great job you have done this year in the face of the pandemic. We are very proud of the dedication and persistence you and your staff have demonstrated over the past several months. We wish you and Randy the best holiday season possible. Your trustees. So again, thank you, Katie. Great job.
Thank you,
and
Katie.
As I said in my message, it is but a token. It is but a token.
Thank you, guys.
You deserve a lot more. At least you know how we feel about the job you've done. Okay, and with that, I'll turn the meeting over to Katie for her reports, financial and otherwise. Take it away, Katie.
I think with the Zoom format, the financial stuff is a little hard to deal with, but I think I will start by seeing if anybody had any questions on anything in the financials.
I think I do not. Anyone else? They kind of look like they always look, with some line items spent because we spend those out early in the year. There was one thing that was over, but it was a pittance. So it's not even worth noting. Did anybody have any questions or comments about the financial report?
No.
Okay, then we'll move on, Katie. And is there anything you would like to highlight from your written report or add to it? Your narrative, your prose narrative.
Sorry, I'm page flipping here.
I myself do not have any questions about what you presented.
Gordonsville did select someone.
Oh, okay.
And they have accepted the offer.
Can you give us a name yet?
Yeah. As far as I know, it's been approved by the county officially. So they hired Danielle Collier Schuler, who is actually the wife of Travis, who works for me here at Maine.
Oh, good. So
So,
it's Danielle. What? There's two last names.
yeah, it's hyphenated Collier hyphen Schular, which is
Is it
Shular.
Collier?
Shular.
No, the Collier part.
Two L's IER.
Yeah. Okay. And then I got Shular. Okay. Well,
I was more worried about that one because it doesn't sound the way I would spell it.
Right.
Collier. It's a mouthful. Collier Shular.
Yes, I agree. But
Well, they'll have more. Maybe they'll have more interesting dinner time conversations now.
yeah, it should be fun. But obviously, since they don't report to the same person, it's not really a conflict of interest. So
Sure. Has she ever worked in a library before?
no, but she has done some customer service work, and I have actually met her, and I did feel like she had, an outgoing personality, and
Yeah.
I asked Patricia to make sure to review her application like I would if it were the relative of one of you guys, or somebody that had some particular reason that we would want to make sure we read it. I didn't go any farther than that, and she decided to call her in and liked her. So
Great. And when will she start?
the first pay period in January, which I think is like the 1st or 2nd of January.
And what you thinking about reopening Gordonsville on Mondays?
We want to get her trained up some before we let her loose. So probably the Monday after Martin Luther King Day.
Okay.
That gives her 2 Mondays, 2 weeks to train. And then we would have done it that Monday, but since we're closed for the holiday, it'll skip past that one.
Now you said the Monday after Martin Luther King Day. Martin Luther King Day is a Monday, so do you mean the following week, the 25th?
Right, because we'll be closed that Monday for Martin Luther King Day, whether we, I mean, if we were going to reopen, we would still be closed, so we might as well wait till afterwards.
The first Monday to be opened again in Gordonsville will be the 25th.
Yeah.
Okay. And I take it Patricia's cool with that?
Yeah.
Reopening? Okay.
I think that gives us a chance to, for her to train Miss Danielle and make sure that she's a good fit and isn't likely to be gone super quickly before we start reopening again.
No, absolutely. I think you absolutely need to do that. Okay, that's good news.
And it also gives time for her background check to come back. I do not anticipate any problems, but.
Right. I also today met for the first time Karen Cornelius' son, who's our returning letterman, you might say, at the main library. Worked with us there before and is now back. So I got to check in with her a little bit. That was nice. Anything else regarding your written report?
The hotspots are basically ready to go. We have one step left, which is to do a Zoom call tomorrow to make sure that the branch managers have all their questions answered about the circulation process, the mechanics of it.
The barcodes are on.
Yep. They're fully in the computer. All the rules have been set up.
They're recognized on the T-Mobile portal.
That finally happened.
Good.
Took like over a week.
Okay.
I checked that. I guess it must have been Tuesday. They were finally there. So.
Okay.
It's exciting.
Do any other trustees have questions about Katie's written report for December 2020?
Mm-mm.
Okay, and then on the stats, I noted that and we already knew this, that the e-circulations are up even from pre-COVID months. So that's encouraging. Anybody have any other questions or comments about the stats? Katie, anything else you want to bring up under your librarian's report?
Just if you yourselves or any of your friends or family are seeking news, we did add that new, very expensive news resource that could use a lot more people using it. Because we can't be sure that having multiple people share the same paper newspaper is safe, we took all of the paper newspapers out when we reopened after COVID. So we wanted to offer some substitute for that experience for people. And it honestly, for the papers that have the full text image feature, it literally is like flipping the pages and reading the paper, but on your screen.
Wow.
And you get all of the ads and all of the everything that you would get in the print paper. And they have that feature for Daily Progress and the Culpeper paper and the Richmond paper. So it just isn't getting as much use as we had hoped. I think people would use it if they knew it was there, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case. Okay, can we move on to new business then, Katie?
Yep.
Okay, so Katie met with our budget committee. Our budget committee was Beth and Joan. Thank you again for your participation. Anything, Katie, Joan, and Beth, that you would like to report as the budget committee regarding the meeting, or your how you looked at the budget, and especially if any changes in Katie's plan were made as a result of your discussion?
I thought Katie did a really good job with it. I mean, she kept, we had talked about it before, and she had kept the budget pretty flat just because the instruction that she had been given before. So I thought it was well done.
That's the way to go. Especially
Joan,
this.
any comments you'd like to make?
I've worked on the budget committee for many years, long time ago when we didn't have Katie. And you thank Katie for everything that she does, because she made it so easy for us and certainly explained everything that she felt was justified, to my knowledge, and I feel certain that that's true. There's absolutely nothing that's inflated in this budget like some that are padding their budget. She did a beautiful job. She made it so much easier for us. I think
Good.
Beth will agree with that too. We had an easy job.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
Thank you, Katie.
So Beth and Joan and Beth, you didn't make, as a result of your discussion, no changes were made in what Katie had originally presented to you. Is that correct?
No.
Okay. So
Yeah,
then we'll
good
move.
job. Good job.
I like the way I like the way it's presented to us in the packet, with a breakout first for each of the three libraries, and indicating probably what's most useful for all of us, which is the changes, where a line item was dropped or the amount for the coming year was increased or decreased. I found that very useful. And clearly, there just aren't any big changes
No.
in the proposal for 21-22 compared to the current budget. It'd be nice if we had more money to work with and we could have requested that position again for Maine, but it certainly made the job easier this year for Katie and for our budget committee. So Katie, over to you for additional comments about your proposal. Anything else that you think needs to be said before we entertain a motion to approve it?
Well, we did not change a whole lot. A few minor tweaks of places where things were a little pinchy, and we felt a little underfunded. We are getting a one-time bump in state aid, which they have told us is not going to continue the following year.
Right.
So we elected to put most of that into ebooks. After discussing it with all of the senior staff, the main reasons for that were because we have seen a huge surge in use there, that there are always long holds lists, and we don't have to make room for those items on our shelves. If you have a one-time bump in physical books and you add a bunch of extra paper things, then you end up having to remove a bunch of things from the shelves to make them fit. And we've gotten to a pretty good balance on the weeding where we're, basically we remove a book for every book we add. At this point, at least at Maine, we have to, and Wilderness too. Gordonsville still has a little bit of room. And the rest of the increase went to a couple of places where we were a little bit short and thought it would be nice to have an extra $300 or $400. Michelle Purcell, our youth services librarian, uses a subscription service called Junior Library Guild, which we basically buy a prepaid plan, and that company has about 25 MLS librarians that work for it, and they have connections with all the publishers and get samples of all of the books that are going to be published months in advance of their publication. They review them, they pick out what they think are the best ones, and then we get those on our plan. But the way that it works for purchasing that, we have to pay for the entire year up front. So in July, we pay for all of those books for the whole year, and then we receive them throughout the year, new batch every month. As a result, we're always chronically short in the fund that pays for that because we spend 100% of it in the first month of the year. Other than that, everybody seemed pretty comfortable and happy with the status quo on the funds. There was a few minor changes for training and travel based on the location of where the conferences were that people wanted to go to.
And since you met with Joan and Beth, is there any item that you've had second thoughts about, or are you good to go with what the three of you agreed to?
As far as I know, I mean, things can always change, but that's why you have budget transfers.
Sure.
Right.
We've covered
Okay.
what we're aware of. Anything else would probably be an increase if we wanted to decide that we needed to buy software to schedule library visit appointments, for example. That isn't accounted for.
Another federal stimulus bill conceivably could bring us some additional funding, as the first one did, the CARES Act. Yeah, so we'll see. Keep our fingers crossed that as we put the nation further in debt, nevertheless, we get some money to spend on library stuff. Okay.
It was very
Well,
helpful.
Yes.
I've
I'll
completed
entertain a
all of the
motion.
purchasing.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the proposed budget for FY22 as printed and presented. Do I hear a
I so
motion?
moved. I
Joan
so moved.
moves. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
John Fry seconds. Further discussion?
No growth is the way to go this year. That's for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, hearing nothing else, I'm gonna do as I've been doing. I'm gonna call you by name and ask for your vote because it's clearer than just listening to your voices over the internet. So I'll begin with I'll go by seniority. Joan.
Yes. Oh, John or
Joan.
Joan?
Joan. That's you.
Oh, me. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, John.
Yes.
Beth.
Yes.
Dave is a yes. So it's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again, Joan and Beth. And Katie for all your good work on preparing.
Really.
Okay. We're gonna segue into our discussion of our operational status and the discussion of any changes we think we might need to make by having Katie talk about the staff survey that she ran, the results of which were in your packet. Go ahead, Katie.
I will start by saying I was very happy and impressed that the staff had well-reasoned comments, and I didn't feel like anybody was really making knee-jerk reactions or that type of thing. And I think that we all feel it's pretty close as far as being open or being curbside. We're kind of at that balance point. The only thing I found, I guess, surprising was that some staff members felt it was more dangerous to do curbside than to be open. Because that thought never occurred to me personally. So, because the mask enforcement has been a mask enforcement inside buildings, but not outside, there was some concern that the people coming to pick up the curbside wouldn't keep their distance or wouldn't be wearing masks.
Oh. I understand the thinking there.
Yeah. The last governor's press conference, his last modification did say you had to wear them outside if you were within 6 feet, but I don't know how well subscribed to that will be in practice.
Most of them in this county haven't listened anyway.
My guess is most people, even well-intentioned people, aren't aware of that particular part of the guidance.
Yeah.
Or the order, if you will. And Katie, what was the percentage of participation in the survey, or how many employees could have participated and how many actually did?
Well, I had 4 come in after I did the export of the results, just because I needed to get the packets mailed. So factoring those in, I think we had 2 people total out of the staff that didn't do it.
That's an excellent result.
So
They seem to be very thoughtful about their answers. You know, I really enjoyed answering it, and they seem to give, feel more comfortable, at least, recognizing the limitations and everything that people have had, but that everyone's done a really good job there at the library. I enjoyed reading the survey. I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, I thought a lot of the comments were very thoughtful.
Yeah.
Insightful.
And I do feel like the fact that we did the survey was recognized as a positive thing by the staff, that
Oh, absolutely.
we were
Yeah.
listening to them and trying to make decisions based on their input.
Right.
Um,
Okay. So you want to move in now to a more thorough discussion of our operational status? Katie, let me make a few comments and provide a little bit of context. First of all, Katie sent us, and I forwarded it to you today, a compilation of the statuses of all the public library systems in Virginia. I also had forwarded Katie's email in which she summarized some of the more important groupings there that showed that about half or more of the public library systems in Virginia have reverted to something less than being fully open. I'll put it that way. Katie can clarify that if she wishes. I also want to note that Katie's been monitoring that virtually daily for quite some time now. When I met with Katie today, I mentioned this before the meeting to those of you that had joined, we agreed that we think there's going to be another surge in the virus after Christmas, just as there was after Thanksgiving, which would appear to argue for at least considering some kind of pullback. But I don't say that to try to unnecessarily influence your views. We're looking forward to hearing from the rest of you today about how you feel about the situation and where the direction in which we should go. So Katie, why don't you share now your key thoughts, including to the extent that you can, the information that you gleaned from our county administrator, Ted Voorhees, in your exchange today.
I think Ted would be absolutely okay if we were to go to curbside posture or to an access by appointment only posture, or to continue as we are doing.
What was that last option? That something only?
To continue as we're currently doing.
Oh, okay.
I think he was okay with any of those. He, I think, understood the rationale why libraries would have rolled back to curbside, and I sent him the spreadsheet with what all the other places around the state were doing so that he could look at it if he wanted to. We're not exactly the hole in the donut because Culpeper is still open, but it's Massanutten has now gone back to curbside only. In our region 6, there's definitely more systems not fully open than are fully open. But each locality and smaller area has a little bit different statistical picture with their COVID cases. They're definitely elevated well above what they were when we were closed back in March and April. They are less than what they were when we decided not to close in November. It's a tough thing. We had over 6,000 people in the buildings last month between the 3 sites, between 6,000 and 7,000 people.
Right.
That's a lot of exposure for the staff.
Hey, let me note, since you brought it up, I wanted to be sure to include this. I should have said it earlier. As I track each day the county's case trends, I noted today, in today's data, which means it was registered yesterday, just in one day, Orange County added 20 new cases, and that's probably the second highest one-day jump we've had yet. in the past week, beginning and going backward 7 days from yesterday, 72 new cases in the county. And about a half dozen times since mid-November, the county has had a daily, weekly count in the 70s. So we're at a level of new cases that continues to be the highest our new case trend has been since the pandemic started. I'll just give you a quick example. 72 cases in the last week. If you go back to, pick a date, when we thought the pandemic was at its worst, say July 7th. I guess I wasn't doing the, yeah, back in July, mid-July, our weekly counts were in the teens at worst. Now they're in the 70s. So again, I just provide that as information for you to mull over as we talk about what we ought to be doing. Okay, Katie, back to you.
Do you want me to read you the email from Ted? Would that help?
Yeah, as long as you're comfortable doing that.
Yeah, I just have to switch screen for a second, so I may be looking like I'm looking at something else.
And you are.
Let's see.
While you're looking, let me ask you a question. Did he say, or do you have the sense that the decision to change our operational approach would require his approval, or this is something we could do on our own and just inform him about?
Yeah, no, I think he was okay with it. From the first one was pretty brief, and then I answered him back with a bunch more information. Initially, he said, clearly we are open more than most. In light of increasing cases, it would be justifiable to reduce hours or to return to curbside. Other strategies are certainly welcome. And he asked how the staff was feeling, what the customers were saying, and whether he thought we could feasibly take appointments, whether we thought we could. I responded back that appointments would be difficult because we don't have a software program or anything to manage them. We'd literally be printing out a daily calendar with blocks of time and writing on sheets of paper. And then, if somebody answers the phone in one office or one part of the library and someone else has the paper and you don't know if all the appointments are booked, it would be difficult. Not impossible, but definitely not
Right.
smooth. I also think that if you have the appointments, it's a difficult decision to try to figure out how many people you're going to allow in. Then you have to have the door locked. Someone's got to come and let those people in. So you're getting closer to them than you would
Yeah.
if you were doing curbside, say. Curbside is not the easiest thing to do when the weather is snowy or crappy. That wouldn't keep me from doing it, but we might have days or times where we would be unable to do it.
Right.
We're using little rolly carts to push outside if it. I know this is a solvable problem, but we do not have any ice melt or shovels or any winter weather stuff that our staff can access. It's all kept locked up somewhere where we can't get to it. And there are not custodians accessible after 3 in the afternoon at Maine, and the branches only have custodial people there maybe 4 hours a week. So we would have to set up an arrangement with Public Works if we go to curbside for us to get access to those things. Because if you're going to ask people to get out of their cars and walk up to a cart and pick it up, you darn well better have the sidewalks safe and cleared. And no staff member is going to be super excited about having shoveling duty, but that is something that we would have to figure out logistically for that. You know, it was nice in the sense that when we first started doing the curbside, it was, you know, it was May and it was nice outside. And that wasn't a factor.
It's the county building with all the other stuff that's in there, Parks and Rec and 4-H, and I mean, all that kind of the extension office. The county doesn't have to maintain your sidewalks for all of you to get to work?
They do in the morning, but it's in the evening when after the custodians close.
Oh.
They generally work like 6 a.m. to 2:30 or 3. And there are not any of them here later. So if we have anything that comes down later in the day, we would need to take
Right.
care of it. And the branches, you know, they have 2 hours twice a week, early in the
Wow.
morning of custodial. So if we get precipitation at any other time, the staff has to do it.
Right.
And we do have, as a government entity, immunity if somebody does fall from lawsuit, but that doesn't mean that you don't want to avoid it at all costs anyway.
Right.
You know, you want to get the area safe. Last year we got very little snow, so it wouldn't have been a big deal.
So Katie, I'll put you on the spot and ask you at this point, in reflecting, especially not only the input that we got from the survey, but the most recent input you've gotten from your senior team. What's your feeling about the way forward? What do you think we should do?
I'm conflicted on that, truthfully. You have 6,000 plus people that your staff's being exposed to, and you have 6,000 plus people who you're removing service from. Trying to balance those things. Curbside is still service, but for a lot of people, they really like to pick out their own stuff and come and browse the shelves. And they see curbside as non-equivalent. Some folks don't have good internet or even the ability to navigate the library website that well.
Right.
But for me, we're real close to the point where the danger outweighs the inconvenience to the customer. That's,
right.
You know, I think we'll be past that point before our next meeting is scheduled. So from my perspective, I guess I would either say maybe we would roll it back after the first of the year, or schedule a meeting 2 to 3 weeks out from Christmas when we have a chance to see if the surge manifests and reevaluate it at that point.
One of the things Katie and I discussed when I was there today was the dynamic of if you assume that there's going to be another surge after Christmas, you could take action and you could set a date for when the pullback of services would begin. But if you're not sure and you want to just see what happens, then, as Katie suggests, we probably want to schedule a special meeting a couple weeks after Christmas, in case we have to make a decision. Another option that I was thinking about on the way home from the library today was that it's kind of complicated, but we could craft a motion today, which if passed would say that we hereby, some words to the effect, we hereby empower the library director in consultation with the chair of the board of trustees to continue to monitor the situation, and if in their judgment the time comes when we need to pull back services, they can go ahead and do it. I'm uncomfortable with that option. It's practical in a sense, but I'm uncomfortable in the sense of not so much empowering Katie, but in terms of my solely representing the trustees in that regard. I guess I better like the idea of scheduling a special meeting in a few weeks to reconsider the situation, and at that time fish or cut bait, because we'll have better insight in a few weeks about what effect the Christmas holidays are going to have on the spread of the virus. It's way too early, I think, to hope that the vaccine is going to counteract that surge. I think that's my guess is that's impractical. I hope that all made sense. What do some of the rest of you think about where we are and where you think we should be going with this?
I think the only way to do it would be to schedule the special meeting, because you're not going to, I mean, it may be so, hopefully it won't, but it could be so horrific that you won't have a choice but to close completely. I mean, the curbside may not even be an option, or maybe it won't be as bad. So, you know, it's hard to tell. I would think the special meeting would be the only way we could do it. And then, you know, Katie, you've got such a handle on everything, kind of see what you're comfortable with and how you feel you would like to go at that point.
I agree with Beth. It's just hard to predict. I was out Saturday, and the stores were packed, and people were paying no attention to anything, including me. I was out. But I personally, I fainted in one of the stores the other day because of my mask. I have asthma, and I literally cannot breathe. And I'm supposed to go see my pulmonologist tomorrow, and he probably would put me back on oxygen, but I can't go because of the weather. But people are going to do what they want to do, and it's hard to predict what the virus is going. If people don't believe the virus is serious, so you kind of have to play it by ear.
John, how about you? What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, those people Joan's talking about are the ones that are going to be the problem. Unless it sounded like buying sometimes not such a bad idea, unless Katie's ready to fish now.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like she's not.
I mean, it sounds like we're close to it anyway. It's not going to get better.
The staff, it was interesting that more of them wanted to be open than wanted to close, and I want to somewhat respect their opinion. I definitely would consider running another survey a week after Christmas and see what we get.
That was general feeling, though. I got that too with the staff, that they were very proud of being able to stay open, and felt, for the most part, except for I think there was only one person who wasn't, but it was interesting to see them compare it always to Food Lion, because I totally get that too. So but yeah, I mean, you've got to definitely see what they're thinking, and certainly, like I said, you've got your finger on the pulse of everything too, so I would certainly trust what you would be comfortable doing. And it is a hard call. I think your point that you made before with having 6,000 people have been in, great, it's a lot of exposure, but it's 6,000 people that would go without. So I mean, appreciate your thoughtfulness on the other people too. But like you said, it'll come down to a point where, you know, you just got to do the best thing. So, but it's hard to tell right now.
Do they get paid if you close down? Does everyone still stay on payroll? Because I saw one of the comments was they needed the hours.
Yeah.
Right.
So do
With-
they get paid if the library closes?
I don't know. The funding that was paying them was CARES Act, and that is ending the end of the year.
Right.
The new stimulus package, I don't know if that will pick that up. If it even gets passed, I honestly do not know. The county administrator did say they would continue to pay for time off when staff quarantined, but I don't know, you know, I don't think fully closing is probably an option right now. I think it would either be going to appointments or going to curbside. Fully closing may be an option if it gets worse, you know, but I think it would be one of those things. Or
Library customers tend to be, you're not having to tell people a lot to put on a mask or anything like that. They kind of self do it, or are our customers better than the Walmart customers?
better than the Walmart.
Okay.
I would say we have one or two a day at Maine that we have to address at a minimum.
Well, they're not, you know, respecting the staff's wanting to continue on. You know, I like the plan of keep monitoring. You guys are doing a great job of keeping on top of it. I don't think it's going to get better, not in the
No.
next couple months.
We're doing everything we can to make it safe as far as, you know, we've got strong cleaning protocols. We're quarantining. We have pretty good PPE.
All right, you guys are a success story as far as I'm concerned, and the way
Yeah,
you're handling
exactly.
it, success story.
Katie, within the last, say this week, have you gotten any notable input from Patricia or Michelle Beamer about where they are with our operational status? Have they expressed feelings that you can share about what they think we ought to do?
Not this week, no. We usually Zoom on Fridays. So we'll do our meeting tomorrow. I touched base with people last Friday and they all said they were comfortable to keep on keeping on, basically.
By the way, I think you made a good point just a little bit ago, but you made several good points today, but just a little bit ago, that closing and going back to where we were before June. Yeah, I don't think that's really an option either. We seem to all be talking about the extent to which, if any, we pull back short of having the doors open or having the doors open on a limited / appointment only basis or something like that. So I just wanted to point that out. If anybody disagrees that that's where we are, please say so. But I think we're talking about how far do we pull back, not do we shut down the operation.
Yeah.
Katie, what do you think about the idea of a special meeting to review the situation? Today's the 17th. Christmas, in case you didn't know, is the 25th this year, people. Okay.
Thanks.
And so
Send me an email on that one.
So we're gonna, whoops, I may lose my connection here. I forgot to plug in the cord. I was running on battery. I know. Please don't shut me down. Please don't shut me down. Where was I?
You were telling
There
us
is
what
a
day
certain,
Christmas was.
yeah,
When
that's
we
right.
meet again.
I was being silly. If there is a surge, we might start seeing it, what, the first full week of January? And at the worst, we're going to see it the second full week of January. Probably by then, we're going to know how bad the situation really is. I'm guessing. I'm guessing on a sort of a 14-day scenario after people have all gone home, which could be New Year's. Then you're looking at the second full week of January when it becomes pretty clear the effect that the Christmas holidays have had. So perhaps we could have a meeting, well, Thursday at 4 o'clock on the 14th.
Not available to me. My daughter is leaving for a mission trip in 13 days to Ethiopia, and she comes home that day, and I have to be at the airport to pick her up.
Okay. Okay.
So I know I won't be available.
Yeah. What I'm fishing for here is, first of all, Katie's agreement that you think that's a good idea. We can always cancel it.
Yeah, no, I think it's good to plan one because we have to post 7 days ahead to have a special meeting. So if we wait until it's like, oh, today I want to close, you can't really do that. So
Right.
I think it's good to plan it. We could maybe, 14th probably works. We could maybe go the 7th. Most people who are going to get it will come down with it within 5 days of exposure.
So you think the 7th would not be too early?
That could work if it's a difference of getting a quorum on one date and not on the other.
Of course, we don't have to meet on a Thursday either. We don't have to meet at 4 o'clock. Well, let me, before we go any further, let me ask this. Joan, other than that, that situation on the 14th, you tend to be in the office, what, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or is it Tuesday and Thursday? I forgot.
I'm in the office on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday normally.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Right.
Okay.
But the 4 o'clock meetings, I mean, daughter works for me once she comes back. I hope she'll still be working for me. But the meetings I have to leave the office at least a half an hour early because it's not fair to make her, we normally go home at 4, and it's not fair for her to have to wait an hour, maybe 2 hours for me to get off the meeting. So any other day that week, but I can't commit myself to any time because I have no idea if the plane will be late or what she'll have to go through once she lands, and she has to be tested for the virus within 120 hours before she leaves the States, and to the tune of $400. But she doesn't have to be tested to come back into the United States, nor does she have to be quarantined. And I find that real interesting.
Yeah.
She found it very interesting.
Yeah. Go riddle me this,
And since we're in daily contact, but she doesn't have to be quarantined to come back.
What about Friday?
So the 14th is just completely out for me.
Yeah.
I can't commit myself to anything.
Got it. We got it. What about Friday the 8th? Would that work for the rest?
I'm off on Fridays, and anytime Friday would be fine with me.
Beth and John?
That's fine with me.
Yeah, me too. I'm here.
What about you, Katie?
Yeah.
Is there a time on Friday that would be best for you, Katie? It doesn't have to be 4.
No, it does not really matter other than if you want to have really fresh input from the branch heads, we either invite them to the meeting or I have my Zoom call with them before we have our meeting. Either way,
I
we
think
usually
it would be
chat at
valuable
10
to have
a.m. on Fridays.
I think that would be, I think it would, personally, I think it would be valuable to have them involved. When we had that meeting, I guess it was in May, in the lunchroom at Maine,
Mhm.
and we had some of the senior staff members present. I think it was very helpful to get their input. If the rest of the trustees here today are comfortable with that, I would suggest we try to set it up for that Friday, the 8th, and include them. So what would be a good time to do that? Is any objection to that from the other
Sounds like a
trustees?
great idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Katie, what would be a good time?
Does somewhere
To
in the 10,
include-
11 o'clock range work? Or
Yeah, that's up to you, I think. 11?
that's fine.
Okay. I suggest, just to err on the side of caution, that we have a motion and a second to establish that special meeting. I think it can't hurt. It can't hurt. Can I get a motion to that effect?
I move that we have the meeting on Friday, January the 8th, in the luncheon room at 11 o'clock.
I think we'll do it via Zoom.
Oh, you're gonna do it with Zoom?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Zoom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fine
It's a
with
small room.
With the
Yeah,
and
it is.
they'll be there.
Too much togetherness.
Okay, so Joan moves to having the special meeting at 11 o'clock on January the 8th via Zoom. Is there a second?
I'll second.
John?
Yeah, you go ahead and Beth's got it.
John, I want you got to get your moving and second stats up, John.
Well, then they won't get it wrong that I was not here or something. You know?
John, let's talk. Let's do a basketball analogy. A second is like an assist, okay, on the basketball court.
Gotcha, baby.
They're very important. Okay.
No
Okay.
sharp elbows.
Any further discussion on the idea or the motion to have a meeting on January the 8th at 11 o'clock via Zoom? Hearing none, I'll put the question. Joan, yes or no?
Yes,
Was that a yes, Joan?
yes,
John,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Beth. Okay, and Dave votes yes. Okay. Katie, if you're thinking on that changes at any point, speak up, of course, and we'll all be monitoring the situation to see if there's a better way forward. But for now, it can't hurt to schedule that meeting. As I said, we can always cancel it if for whatever reason we see the need to do that. But and I would say, as I gave this more thought today, especially after talking to Katie at lunchtime, I was leaning towards, yeah, we probably ought to pull back a bit. But if everybody's comfortable waiting to see what the effects of the holidays are going to be, that probably is okay, especially given the fact that things have been moving along well, as John pointed out. A majority, slim, of the employees in the survey wanted to remain open. There's no primal scream from any of the senior staff about closing. Katie's sort of on the fence, in the middle of the seesaw, as she said today.
Yeah.
So I guess not taking any action at this point makes sense. I'm thinking out loud here. Not taking any action at this point makes sense, and the 8th should be a good time to reassess and decide if we need to do something. So, Katie, if we decided on the 8th to close the doors and go back to curbside, I don't recall from our doing this in the spring. What could we do that? We'd have to say what? We'd have to give a week's grace period or something like that. What do you think?
I think last time we voted on it on a Thursday and implemented it on a Monday.
Okay.
We could decide that at the time, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
I know Massachusetts just announced today they're rolling back on the 21st.
And get your stuff. On the other hand, if on the 8th the situation looks pretty dire and we decide we need to close right away, we close right away.
Right.
In the best interest of our patrons and our employees.
Yep.
Okay. Is there anything else, Katie, you would like to say at this point? Wait, before we do that, I almost forgot. I want to read to you what Tina sent in. She and I exchanged emails today after she got that chart that Katie sent out about what the other systems in the state are doing. And Tina said, looks like curbside is the bulk of state operations. I think that makes sense given staff feelings. Appointments for computers make sense, and a reduction of curbside hours also makes sense to me. And then she followed up, and we've actually discussed this with a question about if part-time people get hours reduced, do they lose those hours in pay? And Katie addressed that, I believe, earlier in our discussion. That's pretty much what Tina had to offer. Katie, anything else you want to add at this point about this issue?
The last conversation that we had with the branch heads on this, they were not really wanting to do much changing of hours, partly to maintain the pay for the staff. Curbside's very slow in the evenings in the wintertime.
Right.
So if we did do any changing of hours, it would probably be there. You know,
Yeah.
maybe we're doing we're staying open until 7:30 at Maine now instead of 8. Maybe we would go to 7, which is when Wilderness and Gordonsville close.
Yeah. Yeah.
But nobody was feeling a huge surge to go to 4 hours a day or something.
I certainly encourage you, as in the days ahead, especially after Christmas, especially after New Year's, when you begin to get a sense of where you think we're heading, shape and reshape the format you think we should go to, so that when we meet on the 8th, you might actually have a proposal for us for what you and the rest of the staff, senior staff at least, think we should do. That would be great.
Yeah. It's a hard thing because we don't want to bounce back and forth.
I know.
And we may stay in that position for some weeks, you know, that may be we may be doing that for 6 or 8 weeks.
Yeah, I'm guessing if we change our operational format, it's going to probably have to be for many weeks. Otherwise, we put ourselves in that mode of possibly going back and forth. Although at some point, the vaccine is going to kick in the spring, and we're going to start to see numbers come down soon because of that. So maybe by January the 8th, we'll have estimates from CDC or even the Virginia Department of Health of when they estimate caseloads are really going to start to drop. We'll see.
Yeah.
Anything else? Go ahead, Katie. Sorry.
I was just going to say most of what I've heard is that probably not until well into the summer.
For a major reduction?
For major impact from the vaccine, yeah. Because you've got to get to 70% of the population immunized.
Yeah. Any of the other trustees have any other thoughts on the subject now? Because if you don't, the next item on the agenda is adjournment. And if there's no objection, we will stand adjourned unless anybody has anything else to bring up for the good of the order. Anything we haven't discussed yet that you wanted to be sure to talk about today. Anything at all? Anything? Okay. If there's no objection, we will stand adjourned at 5:06. Is there any objection?
Nope.
We are adjourned. Our next regular board meeting is February the 18th at 4 o'clock. It'll almost certainly be via Zoom as well. And be sure you put on your calendars January the 8th at 11 a.m. Obviously, I will be informing the other members and reminding you ad nauseum as we approach that date. The only other thing I would say is I hope you all have the best holiday season you possibly can given the situation we're in. Beth, I hope you're able to celebrate Christmas actually in your home and not in your car. Now, Beth, I got to ask you something. I just want to be sure here. You still have a house, right? You're not living in your car.
No, I still have a house.
Okay.
I hope it's a
Well,
nice
I hope that all
car.
works out pretty soon, and I wish you all the best of times over the holidays.
Merry Christmas.
Holidays.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, everybody.
And thank you,
Merry
Larry
Christmas.
Clement. Thank you, Larry Clement, for making this meeting possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
My Santa mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a holiday mask today from Katie. Great. Take care, everybody.